everybody, welcome into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We thought we'd spend a little time with Ross Brennan, of course, Louisiana State Trooper, PIO, Public Information Officer, and talk about, some recognition for some of the Troop C troopers. And we appreciate it, and we'll spend a couple segments here. We'll talk about trucks and all that in the second segment. But let's talk about the awards, and you're talking about an ACE, which is Aggressive Criminal Enforcement, which is a big award, and I say for an area that probably doesn't have as much crime as some other areas, it's big and rare when a Troop C is a recipient of that.
Yeah, so we recently had the Trooper First Class Tyler Laish. He was a recipient of this award, and so in order to be a recipient, what it is, the requirements is you have to find and locate 5 stolen vehicles and also arrest those drivers within a 12-month period. So as soon as your first arrest happens, then you have that 12 months to be able to get the other 4. And as you said, it is kind of rare to have in our area. A lot of these stolen vehicles, if they do occur in our Troop C area, they might be going to New Orleans area or out of Troop C. So I think at the moment we have 3 currently who are ACE plate recipients at Troop C. But it's very, very prestigious. It's very hard for them to be able to get that. And when they do get them, we would like to recognize them.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Trooper First Class Tyler Laish, or Lachey, but Laish is how he pronounces. Lachey is also, I've seen that, I guess depending on where you're at in Louisiana. But yeah, good job by him. And we talked about the area, and look, stolen vehicles, particularly in the New Orleans, Baton Rouge area, has become almost pandemic-like. Is that not the case in more rural areas where we don't have as many of those? And is it a problem in our area?
They do happen in our area, yes, sir. They do happen. Those ones that he did recover, they happened in our area. It was anything from cars, trucks, motorcycles, even a dump truck that he was able to recover. So they do happen in our area, but like I said earlier, they do kind of go out of our, like towards New Orleans area, things like that. And whether they go into like chop shops or they're involved in other crimes, that unfortunately is kind of what happens a lot of times with stolen vehicles. But what we do with this is kind of as an incentive for the troopers kind of go a little bit above and beyond and get a little bit more recognition than just a job well done and be able to get that, that plate. And so if you actually, you can see a trooper if he has an ACE plate, one, by having that plate on the front, but we also give them these stickers, shape of Louisiana with a lightning bolt with ACE. And so each one of those stickers represents those 5 vehicles. So if you see a trooper with that on the side of the car, that means that they're an ACE. Now we have an even more special award for a trooper that acquires 25 stolen vehicles with apprehensions within a year, and that's called the Blue Max. Now this is kind of like the ace of the aces. It's extremely rare to have them, but we do, and it's a privilege to be able to get that award for sure, in addition to the regular ACE plates.
So when you're talking about stolen vehicles and finding them now, we have license plate recognition. You guys are on the highways a lot of times. So how would you find a stolen vehicle? You see license plates, or are you just on the lookout for certain things?
So with technology such as license plate readers, those definitely help out. If they do pass one, local law enforcement will get an alert that it's a stolen vehicle, and then we start to kind of head towards that direction, be able to locate that vehicle. Sometimes it's just traffic stops. So you stop a vehicle and you start doing some paperwork, looking into the information. You find out it was stolen maybe from another state or Louisiana. So technology has helped out a lot with it, but it also does take proactive police work to be able to find them too.
And not to give away, I don't know if I'm giving away any. Can you do that? When the cars are driving each way, will it point, or do you have to be behind a vehicle to do the license plate? How does that work?
So they have stationary cameras throughout all of Troop C area that are able to find.
Stationary. So it's not just in a trooper's car.
No. Now there are some mobile ones that are on top of police vehicles that as you're driving along, they can detect that. But we don't have anything like that within Troop C area on our vehicles, at least.
I got you. So I was thinking, obviously to stay off of I-10, the Highway 90 corridor would be a big area for people trying to get from New Orleans to Houston or whatever.
And we have that too. Sometimes whether it's drug trafficking, things such as that, they try to stay off the main roadways and they might come through our area. And so in addition to stolen vehicles, we also do get some large narcotic seizures too every now and then from people trying to avoid the main thoroughfares and coming through the Troop C area.
Right. So you started by Ohio State Highway Patrol in 1972. So that this is something that goes on in other states too?
Correct. Almost every state police agency across the nation, they have some type of program that's similar to this. As you said, it started in Ohio. Not long after, we started in state police. So it's been going on for a lot of years now.
You know, to find and to pull over cars and to do those things, that's almost proactive policing, right? Which used to be a mark of a good police force. It's kind of turned where people now the stigma of proactive policing are like, wait, is this harassment and that kind of stuff? Is that still a part of what y'all do now? Is proactive policing? Because it seems like it goes hand in hand with crime and dropping crime.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know where y'all at with that right now.
No, yeah, proactive policing does reduce crime because if you're going out there actively looking for it, one, it stops the one that's already being committed, but it's also a deterrent. But of course, like every other police agency, we are dealing with manpower or woman power issues as far as staffing with the department. So a little recruiting plug. If you are wanting to come join state police, yeah, we are definitely hiring because the more troopers that you have on the roadway, the more opportunities that you have to be able to go and do proactive policing versus responding to, let's say, crashes, especially in the Houma Terrebonne area. I mean, it's such a high population area that a lot of our troopers, they just kind of go from crash to crash during their shift. So the more troopers that you have on a patrol, kind of ones can handle working the crashes and such, and then the other ones can kind of maybe do a little bit more proactive.
So the academy's looking, and so if you can get into the academy, and what does it take? Takes a degree and...
So either 60 hours of college, 3 years of prior law enforcement, or 3 years of military.
Good opportunity. Maybe the best way to go about crime is to stop it before it happens, and or traffic accidents, right? Because mostly you're on the highways and that kind of stuff. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that and something I didn't know was a big issue, but squatted trucks. Everybody loves to mod out their vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Jack them up, you know, different tires and different things. It's a culture in a lot of ways, but squatted trucks are different because it can cause a road hazard.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
And I'm sure it's happened to you, it's happened to me. Maybe you're driving at night, you're going down maybe 311, something like that, and they got an oncoming vehicle and the headlights are just so bright that you can't see. And it ends up passing you and it was a lifted truck. And so there's this recent trend in vehicle modification. Some people call it the Carolina squat, but it's also called a squatted truck. Basically what happens is whoever's the owner of that vehicle, they lift the front of that vehicle to be higher than the back. The problem with that is now you're affecting the headlights. Instead of facing towards the roadway, now they're facing up into the eyes of the oncoming drivers. In addition to blinding them, let's say you're driving, again, you're blinded with the headlights, you might start to drift off the road, you don't even realize that, and you maybe strike a pedestrian or turn, right, a lot of stuff could potentially happen. But also it reduces that visibility for that driver of that truck. So instead of seeing out,
he's facing up.
Yeah, he's basically almost staring up towards the sky. So instead of seeing out over the hood, that hood now obstructs the view. They cannot see maybe pedestrians or bicyclists, other vehicles, right? So it can cause potential hazards. So back in August of 2022, we actually enacted a law in Louisiana that the front fender cannot be higher than 6 inches compared to that back fender. So nobody can alter a vehicle's suspension, frame, or chassis where the height of the front fender is 6 or more inches greater than the height of the rear fender, right? Causing that angle for that front to be pointed upward. Now, of course, when you're towing with a vehicle, that front's going to naturally dip higher because the weight of that load's pulling down the back. So it doesn't count for a vehicle that's towing something. This is just an unladen vehicle, you know, not pulling a trailer.
Still 6 inches seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, particularly even when you got a load, it ain't going to be that much. It shouldn't be. You can really mess up your truck. But that's interesting that it's still, you still have 6 inches of clearance that way. That's actually a lot, I think. Huh?
Yeah, so anything over 6 inches, that's whenever you start kind of breaking that law that we enacted back in August 22. But under 6 inches, right, you'll be okay.
Have you guys had to enforce this?
Have we? I don't know our particular numbers, but just driving along the roads, you're starting to see more and more vehicles. Again, it's kind of a growing trend in vehicle modification. Especially for whatever reason during the Gulf Coast, it seems to be popular.
Right. Well, we cruising the coast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have a lot of vehicles like that out there. And look, I'm a car guy. I had to lift the truck. I had to, you know, I put the lift on kit on it. But at least in my case, my tires were a little wide, so I had to go out and buy fender flares for it to be legal. So you can modify a vehicle. We've got no problem with that. Make it your own, unique, but just do it legally, right?
Well, look, when you start messing with headlights, right,
Yeah.
at nighttime when other people are driving, my wife has sensitive eyes too, and when they have sometimes those LED lights or
Yeah.
there's a blue light that really messes with her eyes when she's trying to drive, it's just not fair to the other drivers, and it creates a road hazard, particularly if you've got lights shining up like that.
Yeah. And also another situation too, we see a lot of people who are driving with their brights on. Maybe they don't realize it, but that little blue high beam symbol on your dash, right? That means that your headlights are on. So same situation as the headlights are angled upward, you can blind oncoming drivers, makes it harder for them to see. Let's say, there's some type of road hazard. If you can't see it, how can you react to it?
Right. Those lights, those LED lights in general can cause problems for people, but those are legal, right? I mean, LED lights or no?
The problem with the LED lights is whenever you buy them aftermarket, a lot of times they're not designed to be able to go in that headlight housing that they're being installed in. So that light, the way it's refracting and reflecting from that LED, it ends up being a lot more brighter. That light beams a lot more all over the place in the sense, rather than concentrated up on the road. And so that's how it can blind other drivers
Well,
too.
anytime, and look, I've tried to install lights in my
Yeah.
car. I'm a poor guy, little kid, just in high school or whatever. The
Yeah.
light goes out, you try and do it yourself. You don't always position it right. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're going down. Why is everybody flashing their brights at me? But it might be positioned wrong too. So yeah, I guess anytime you do any kind of modification, there should be some kind of legal way to figure it out. I would guess.
And you can check. Look, YouTube is a good benefit. You can always go to there, see how they adjust your headlights. If you don't feel comfortable with that, see a mechanic or somewhere, somebody maybe a little bit more qualified about adjusting your headlights. It's not hard to adjust your headlights. If you do put new bulbs in, you can raise them up and down. But even the problem with that, like going back to the squatted trucks, that's such an extreme level that even adjusting the headlights, it still wouldn't be enough. Right. It'll still blind oncoming drivers.
What is the... I guess everything, they talk about street legal, right?
Yeah.
Where things have to be street legal. How does somebody who does cars and goes to those shows, how do they know they're doing the right thing? They know that their things are legal, street legal.
Well, you can have certain modifications that aren't legal if it doesn't go on the roadway. So a lot of these show trucks and vehicles that are put in those types of events, they're not necessarily driven on the roadway. So if it's on private property, you can have whatever you want done to it, right? But whenever it's actually on the public roadways, that's whenever you can cause a problem for yourself and possibly getting a citation. Real quick before we finish, a lot of trend too is those underglow lights on these vehicles. Technically, it looks great in the parking lot, but that's really the only place that you can have it, right? If you're going to drive on the roadways, you can't have that underglow on those vehicles.
Now, is that a hazard too?
It could potentially be a hazard, right? So maybe sometimes they may have a red or a blue light, and as you're driving along, you just look in your rearview mirror, see a red or a blue light coming behind you. You might think it's fire or EMS or a police officer, and
I got you.
Stuff like that.
I like it. I think that looks cool. But I guess you're
private
right.
parking lot is fine, but just on the roadway you can't use
If you're over
it.
at Hooters, you're fine.
Yeah,
the parking lot over there. All right, Ross, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll be right back with more Bite Time after this.